Are you guys ready? We're going to do our MLB Awards. I know Fish was waiting for the past week for this. So let's get into it because we already know the American League Rookie of the Year. And I'm going to let you go first, Jabba, because he's a Yankee.
Well, yeah. This one kind of caught me off guard. I mean, we obviously knew the NL and what that was going to be. There was obviously 3 great candidates for that, but yeah, it was a little interesting. We obviously had 2 of the 3.
Yes.
With Austin and Hill, and I really I didn't know what to take on this when it got announced in the 3 finalists, and I'm just like, well, I think he's got a chance. I think Kowser probably that's what I would have chose. And I mean, Yankee fans can hate me for this, but he just consistently, I thought, was better throughout the entire time. But hell, I'm not mad that we had a Yankee guy win. On the other side, I think it was between Skeens and Merrill, but we all knew Paul was going to win the NL, so that was pretty easy. But yeah, I think, I mean, his numbers were great. If you look for the longevity as a rookie and what can happen and what can't happen, I think it was a toss-up either way. Any of those people could have really, truly. I think it was just between Colton and Luis. I don't think Austin Wells was even. I mean, they had to put somebody else, but I mean, it was because he was so young and other thing. And did he not? He didn't have a great year, but he had a really good year for a rookie and as a catcher, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, but I think just consistently, those other 2 just had more longevity and in what the year was, but very well deserving. Excited for him, and I think it's going to be one of those things where I hope he builds off it. I hope he doesn't rest on his laurels and be like, all right, I'm the rookie of the year. I can just go and not do a damn thing, and I'll just come back because I was rookie of the year. So we know from the other side too. I mean, he's not done. He's still got a chance to win the Cy Young. Do I think he's going to win it? Do I think it's going to go to Chris Sale? Probably. I mean, he had 252 strikeouts, and so it would be the first time. And what's crazy about this too is this is the first time since 1981 that we have actually had 2 starting pitchers be rookie of the year. And the last one in 81 was obviously Fernando Valenzuela and Dave Righetti. So it's been something, that we haven't seen in a while. And as a pitcher, I can't say I don't hate it because I don't. And so, yeah, just exciting for both of those guys. Very well deserved. And, we're going to have awards keep coming. We'll see. We got Manager of the Year. We got MVP, which we probably know. I don't even know if we even have to talk about that because it's probably pretty much a given on both of those. But yeah, we had all the MLB, all MLB show and all that stuff. So yeah, no, it's an exciting time with, guys getting accolades for what they did during the year. And then obviously, hopefully seeing some really cool signings coming up. I don't know what's going to happen, but we're going to see what happens.
Well, I'll tell you this. Luis Gil deserves absolutely all the credit in the world. This is a guy that had a torn UCL last year. His first year, his rookie season, his real rookie season, I think he was 6-0 before he tore his UCL. This guy was an add-on in a trade and has become the centerpiece of that trade years and years ago from the New York Yankees. This was a Brian Cashman move, and Brian Cashman might have found a future ace for this team and this organization when Garrett Cole eventually parts ways and retires. Obviously opt into his contract out of nowhere, but Luis Gil, 3.5 ERA, 1.19 whip, 171 strikeouts. This is a guy that wasn't expected to come back and do what he did this year, and he had a 15-6 record. I mean, he was everything to the New York Yankees and the best home pitcher for the New York Yankees all season long. He was fantastic. I would have went with Louis Seal. I disagree with you in the Colton Cowser move. I mean, 200, batting 253, 243, 24 homers and 77 RBIs. It was his rookie season. I still think that Austin Wells was very impressive as a catcher this year. This is a guy that nobody thought was going to be a homegrown catcher. He really developed his skills. He was one of the best catching passers, blockers in the league this year. 13 home runs, 55 RBIs. He put up great numbers in the second half of the season. I thought it was Louis Seal. And again, I agree with you. National League Rookie of the Year, Paul Skeens is sensational. We all know what he's going to be. This guy was the number one pick in the draft for a reason. This guy, 1.96 ERA, 0.95 WHIP, 170 strikeouts. This guy was the best pitcher in the National League. He's going to win the Cy Young this year. There's no question in the National League. So yeah, it was very impressive for both pitchers to do what they did this season and win Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, Skeens had the best strikeout rate we've seen since Steven Strasburg's rookie year. And if he came up at the beginning of the year, he would have been on a much bigger pace. He might have gotten to 200 strikeouts, maybe even more than that. So he definitely, I think, is like a landslide over these other two. As good as Churio is, he was great in the playoffs for Milwaukee too, and Merrill, like you were talking about, Java. He plays shortstop and center field and put up those numbers too. It was very impressive. I'm glad they gave it to Heel. Sometimes you're right, Java. They do value the consistency with Cowser. Cowser did great in the second half when a lot of the other guys were struggling for the Orioles, and obviously all the injuries they had their pitching. But Heel's peak value, I think, definitely was worth giving it to them. I thought they would give it to Cowser too, but I think Errol's right. I would give it to Heel.
I'm giving it to the pitcher. I'm giving it to the guy.
I'm not going to be mad at it either way.
These were the two pitchers, and they put up numbers. And Luis Seal playing for the Yankees in Yankee Stadium and having the whip in the ERA at home, the way he pitched at home is honestly, his numbers were better at home than it was away, which says a lot about him.
It blows my mind too, though, that it's been since '81 that we've actually had two starting pitchers win the Rookie of the Year.
You're right.
That's crazy.
It is crazy. All right, let's go American League Manager of the Year. Is that where we're going? Obviously, AJ Hinch, Tigers. Obviously, Quintero for the Royals. And
Stephen Vogt's already won one.
Yes. So, obviously, the factor here is who do you think had the better season? I would have went with AJ Hinch. All the controversy, everything that happened over there with the Astros. This guy won a World Series with the Astros and then lost his job because obviously for cheating. And then goes over there to Detroit and obviously rebuilds this team the way he did. I thought, to me, I would have went that route, but you could have went either way. But congratulations to Stephen Vogt.
Yeah, and I think obviously there's multiple facets of these awards, the writers and whatever. But yeah, I think with what AJ Hinch had to work with, and obviously Stephen Vogt coming in and being basically a new kid on the block, you know what I'm saying? And he's a player's manager, and that's what he is. I had Q. Q was my my bench coach when I was in Cleveland.
Oh.
And he's great, and I can see why people love playing for him and that. But yeah, it would probably be for me, knowing what they were obviously, Miggy being gone, and I wouldn't say necessarily rebuilding. They had a staple of some. When you got Scooble throwing the ball for you, you're doing all right. For me, that's a toss-up. I'm gonna. Vogt's already won one. I think it's between him and A. Hinch in the American League. National League, I'm not really. Nobody really stands out. I think it's probably going to go to Carlos Mendoza.
I think it should go to Carlos Mendoza. What he did with the Mets in the second half was sensational.
And, them basically being out of the playoff picture and then having the best record in the second half is, and it just goes. And Carlos, from the time that, I got drafted almost 20 years ago, and he'd been in the organization the entire time that, he had some foot in some capacity of what it was. And for him to obviously, get that job and then see how the first half went and how it was like, oh, hell, like this ain't going to go well. Speedy knows what I'm talking about because those first couple of months were a little rough.
Yeah, we talked about it. It was like one of our funniest stories when Jorge Lopez threw his glove into the stands. Believe me.
Yep, and then he got released. Smell you later.
He got released. He got to join the Cubs with the great Craig Counsell, the almost Mets manager. And now you have on the other end, the Mets and the Brewers finalists, both being manager of the year, and Craig Counsell missed the playoffs. And Java, it's interesting because we talked about the trends of like consistency versus like these big runs. And AJ Hinch had the great turnaround with the Tigers. We joked about it when we had Kevin Mench on the show about it in August. He's saying, "Oh, watch out, the Tigers are playing hot," and we're thinking, "Oh, maybe it's too little, too late." But they had an amazing run to end the year. But what's interesting with Vogt too, Java, is like how much the injuries they've had to manage with that team and the small market that they are in too. So it probably gives me the slight edge with him there. As far as the National League, it's probably a toss-up with Mendoza and Murphy, like teams that had no expectations after choking in the playoffs, and obviously the Mets having no expectations. It's interesting because the NL Central is no liability teams like the Marlins or the Nationals. Like it was a competitive division all year, but they didn't have the Phillies and teams like that. So it's a very interesting toss-up there. Probably, if it was a playoff award, Mendoza would get it. If it's the regular season, it'll probably go to Murphy.
Yeah, it'll be interesting, and when it's like you said, there was really what expectations were there? There really wasn't, and you kind of seen what happened. You never know what's going to happen if they look at it as the entirety of the year and how far they got. Then obviously goes to Mendoza. If you look at what Murph did with, actually, I beat Pat Murphy in the College World Series in 2005. He was the head coach at Arizona State. And he still hated me for it when I signed with the Brewers before I retired. But yeah, if you're just looking at regular season, I think you're 100% right. I think it's Murph, but I think if you look at it as a whole and where he ended up taking those guys, I think making those moves, bringing in Jose Iglesias, obviously Diaz coming back and being the Edwin that he was. I think you look at it as a whole. I think it probably goes to Mendoza, and from the AL, like I said, I think Stephen Vogt has one of the most underrated players in all of baseball, and Jose Ramirez.
Best contract.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Who couldn't hit a lick in the playoffs?
Yeah, but neither could Judge, so shut up.
I say, listen, I'm the one who was very critical on Aaron Judge throughout the playoffs. The most critical person. So, and I've spoken highly of Giancarlo Stanton for all the Yankee fans attacking him, saying that he can't do anything in the regular season. But go look.
First of all, I called that on Twitter. Like people were panicking, and literally, I'm just jumping on all of them. I'm like, so do you want him now? Oh, you want Dominguez? Get out of here. Go fly a kite.
All right. American League Cy Young and National League Cy Young. I mean, obviously, I would probably – I'm going Class A. I mean, 0.61 ERA, 0.66 whip, 66 strikeouts, 47 saves. I mean, we haven't seen this since Mariano Rivera. I mean, Seth Lugo had a great season. There's no question. He pitched very well for Kansas City. And obviously, Screwball he's fantastic. He had a great year, too, with his whip under 1. But I'm going with the closer. I think the closer was sensational all season long. That's where I would go in the American League. In the National League, I mean, Chris Sale. I mean, he had a sensational year. I mean, people are going to go with Paul Skeens, but I think Chris Sale coming back the way he did and being consistent as good as he was with the Braves, 2.38 ERA, 1.01 whip, and 225 strikeouts. I know, like I said, I would go with Paul Skeens, but I think when you look at that and the comeback of Chris Sale, I'll go Chris Sale and Class A. That's where I would go.
Yeah, I think obviously Sale winning comeback player of the year. And, sometimes it's literally, one of those things where a change of scenery is what you need, right? And that's a perfect example of what Sale did and got back to himself. I think it's what he did was Chris Sale, and that's what he's done. But I think Scooble's probably going to take it in the AL. I mean, 2-3, didn't get to 200 innings. He was 192, but he had 228 punch outs, and his whip was below 1. So for me, I get the understanding of Class A and what it was. I think it was the second lowest ERA in modern day baseball, and Obviously, that didn't translate to the playoffs, but that's neither here nor there. But I got to go. I'm going Skubal and Sale. Like, I would love, I think it's great for baseball what Paul Skeens has done. And it would be the first time that a Rookie of the Year has won the Cy Young since 1981. It comes back again, and that was Fernando Valenzuela.
Yeah.
So, I'm going Skubal and Sale.
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking the same way. I think Skubal, with that strikeout rate that he's been going, I know the innings, like you said, he didn't get to 200, but again, a lot of young pitchers don't. 2.39 ERA and carrying the Tigers when their offense was struggling badly in the beginning of the year. And same kind of thing with Chris Sale. That's why I would give it to Chris Sale too. How bad were the Braves' offense when they had all those injuries too? Wheeler pitched more innings than Sale, but Sale had an insane strikeout rate for that many innings, so I would go Sale.
So we're all going to say Chris Sale, but I think Clase, what he did this year, I mean, that was Mariano-esque, and I'm going to give it to him because he was just so impressive throughout the season. I think, obviously, when you see him a lot in the playoffs and you get to see how he throws, he got caught up and he got smacked around. But, again, I still think he's the best closer we've seen since Mariano Rivera, and that's why I'm giving it to him. There's no dominant pitcher in the American League.
Don't forget that Fernando Rodney year when he had a .68.
Yeah, I remember.
Oh, yeah.
I remember. MVP. Obviously, the American League.
Do we even have to cover this?
No, we don't, and we know it's Aaron Judge. He's going to be the American League MVP. Bobby Witt, I would say number 2. Bobby Witt had a sensational year, stealing bases, hitting home runs, 109 RBI, 332. He won the batting title, obviously, and Juan Soto. He would be 3rd. He had a great year too. 109 RBIs, 421 on base percentage. But that's where I would go. Aaron Judge, easy. And as far as there is no argument with Francisco Lindor and Shohei Ohtani. Congratulations to Francisco Lindor getting paid and actually putting up the numbers as he has over the last 2 seasons. Shohei Ohtani, unbelievable. 310, 54 home runs, 130 RBIs, 59 stolen bases. Yeah, those are the guys.
Should be unanimous for both of them.
Unanimous for both of them. All number ones. So,
yeah, if it wasn't for Aaron Judge, Bobby Witt wins this, right? Like,
of course.
It's the first time a shortstop has won Silver Slugger, All MVP, blah blah blah. Like, yeah, I mean it's a given, but I mean we don't even have to go into numbers at this point. It's literally Judge and Ohtani. That's literally what it is.
That's it. I mean, there's nothing to argue about.
All those other guys are deserving. Don't get me wrong. They are. They're 100%. Like, they deserve the credentials of being in the conversation. But you just, 50-50? You shitting me? Like, no. First of all, I still, to this day, I'm going to tell you right now, I don't think he
you got that Nebraska accent.
I think he was born in a lab. I don't think he was actually born a human. Like, this dude was born in a lab, because you can't be that fast, that big. He doesn't even take a stride, and he's hitting balls 470 feet.
He's not human.
And then you got Judge that just continuously gets better in every avenue. And the one thing that I have noticed is his plate discipline. And, we talked about it early in the playoffs. He was ass out trying to hit stuff when they were just throwing sliders away. His ability to make the adjustments now as he's gotten older, and it just shows in his plate discipline and how he figures it out. And, I mean, he's going to be a 40, 120 guy for the rest of his career. I don't know if he's going to hit 320 his entire career, but he's gotten better as he's gotten older in average. So, I mean, that's
impressive. He's been impressive.
It hasn't sucked, that's for sure.
No, but he's got to hit in the playoffs, and that's been his kryptonite.
He'll have his A-Rod moment. It'll happen.
Hopefully we can only pray.